One of the reasons I love this little hotel in the south of France is because it has a freshwater pool. I don't like swimming in seawater. I like swimming in freshwater, chlorinated. But secondly, it's a fantastic little hotel. It's the lowest one in the Accor group, the Ibis chain, but they're always very simple, very basic, very clean, staffed by young, enthusiastic people. Normally, this little place costs about 50 quid a night at high season. Now, that for the south of France is unbelievable. I mean, that's so cheap. The reason being, it is about 5 or 10 minutes out from the coast. So you really do need a car or some kind of transport, which of course I've got, and that's what makes it very, very useful. The prices have gone up through the roof over the last couple of years. Now it's over £100, sometimes £150 a night, whereas the five-star hotels can be £500, £600, £700 a night. But this hotel, I'm staying here for a fortnight. That's 2 weeks, which should cost me £1,950. However, because I get points on Accor, and Accor includes all the Sofitels and the Movenpicks and the other hotels I tend to stay at, and I stayed in the Movenpick in Marrakesh for 2 months over the winter, the points you get, you can put towards paying for the cost of the room. So as a result, it costs you much less. Well, the price I'm paying for this, instead of £1,950, is £109. That's quite a massive discount. Some of the rocks around here are 2,000 or 3,000 years old. Some of the trees are hundreds of years old. The atmosphere and the air is much fresher. It's not nearly as salty as it is by the sea. And I love the place. The steps are made from timbers from old ships, which absolutely fascinates me. They're hundreds of years old. It really all contributes to a fantastic atmosphere. Apologies if you've had to watch me nearly naked in a swimming pool and you've noticed the awful leathery texture of my skin. Well, I'm terribly sorry. The problem is I'm now almost 80, and at 80 I'm a very old person. Interestingly enough, this beard that I've got is thoroughly approved of by all the women I meet and in my life. They think it looks great. I look very distinguished. Personally, I suspect it reminds them of their fathers or even their grandfathers, and as a result they think I look nice and I look honourable and decent and fine. The others, however, the men in my life, feel the opposite. They actually all seem to think that it makes me look older. and they don't like that. I point out to all the men in my life, I am older. I'm nearly 80. I'm so ancient. Most of my friends and the people of my age are dead. I look much better getting into the lift after my swim, almost fully clothed. Most people, of course, prefer to swim in the sea here in the south of France. While we look at the south of France this episode, let's talk more about the legal situation in Great Britain and the world. Well, I watched The Wrong Man as it was transmitted on BBC Two on Thursday last week. And it was an excellent film describing the appalling injustice that happened to Andrew Malkinson, who spent 17 years in prison for crimes that he did not commit, and is still suffering, unable to get any compensation or anything else. Well, several things struck me. First of all, that we all know, the hero of the piece was Appeal, specifically Emily Bolton, who runs Appeal. The job they did was absolutely terrific. Without them, Andrew Malkinson would still be in prison for crimes he did not commit and would probably die in prison for that. Secondly, however, I noticed that Andrew Malkinson, who was understandably very bitter and upset and remains so, wasted his time in prison. He obviously hated it, he loathed the place, and he hated every single second of being in there. Now, when I was in prison for crimes that I did not commit, on a 7-year sentence, of which I served 3.5 years only and was given first parole, I actually had a fantastic time. I found I was able to cheer up, help, assist numerous people in there who were equally miserable as Andrew Malkinson. You have to remember, there are not just hundreds of Andrew Malkinsons in our prisons, but thousands. And I found I was even able to assist and cheer up and help people who admitted they were completely 100% guilty of the crimes, but had good sides to their character and could be helped to their future lives by somebody listening to them and giving them advice. The third thing, however, that I thought was very important to notice is that Appeal and Emily Bolton should not be necessary. The system is broken. Convicting innocent people at the start is appalling, and they should never be convicted or even prosecuted, especially if they had decent or even vaguely competent lawyers. Andrew Malkinson had a series of lawyers who were totally incompetent. Some lawyers are even corrupt, out to make as much money as they can. But those who aren't corrupt and those who do work on legal aid, like my last lot, and are pretty decent and try and do the best job they can, have got numerous cases, can't really concentrate on the detail of what's going on. The guy James at Appeal, who really concentrated on the detail of Andrew Malkinson's wrongful conviction, was another absolute hero. But people like James should not be needed. Indeed, people like myself. I did the same in the 2018 trial and came up with the most amazing things, thanks mainly to the help of an incredible private investigator, William Merritt, who really did great work for me. But all of that should not be necessary. This is what the police should be doing if only they led a balanced and intelligent investigation. They don't. They go by what Keir Starmer as DPP brought in. You will be believed even if you are lying. And they actually only go to get a conviction. They don't care whether the convicted person is innocent or guilty. They don't care whether, if, for instance, he's innocent, as Andrew Malkinson was, the guilty person could be at large for 20 years, killing and raping numerous people and getting away with it. But also, in those early days, the lawyers representing both the defence and the prosecution and the judges judging the cases and the juries listening to the evidence should not be convicting innocent people. And I'm sorry, the old method that was set up centuries ago, like democracy, simply does not work in the modern world. More about the legal side of Great Britain in a moment. One of the big hits we had on UK records was called Beach Baby by the First Class, but I always loved their follow-up flop.
In 59 you had a rock and roll band, you really played a mean guitar. Now everybody said you were gonna make it big, but you never got to be a star. You didn't give up so easy, you still kept playing the game. You found yourself a man for a small percentage, and he gave you a different name. Oh, Bobby Dazzler, what they trying to do to you? They tell you what to wear and how to comb your hair, and everything else you do. Oh, Bobby Dazzler, how they really let you down. You got nothing left to sing when they stood you in the ring, painted you like a clown. Bobby Dazzler, sha-la-la-la-la. Bobby Dazzler, sha-la-la-la-la. Bobby Dazzler. Hey, hey,
I always think the flower arrangements in the Hotel du Cap are the best in the world.
In 64 you got the surfing sound, you were the clean-cut American boy. You were nearly face down on the mystery tour. Yeah, 67 was a joy. You wore a pair of faded denims around about 69. Your very last chance to be in the circus is here for the very last time. Oh, Bobby Dazzler, what they trying to do to you? They tell you what to wear and how to comb your hair and everything else you do. Oh, Bobby Dazzler, how they really let you down. You got nothing left to sing when they stood you in the ring and painted you like a clown. Bobby Dazzler, sha-la-la-la-la. Bobby Dazzler, sha-la-la-la-la. Bobby Dazzler. Now look here, son. You do exactly as I say. I can see a very bright future for you.
Well, you're the boss. Where do I sign?
Sign just here. And don't forget the copy. Oh, Bobby Dazzler, what they trying to do to you? They tell you what to wear and how to comb your hair and everything else you do. Oh, Bobby Dazzler, how they really let you down.
Beach Baby was the big First Class hit, but I loved Bobby Dazzler, which was the follow-up, and I'm afraid a total flop. Whilst I'm sure many of you prefer looking at the farmers' markets in the south of France in Cannes and the beaches and the swimming pools and the hotels I visit and the flower arrangements, part of the point of A Victim Bites Back is to talk quite seriously about the state of humanity and especially the state of society. Society and civilization are meant to look after humanity amongst other species. We're also meant to look after the world and the universe, and I hate to say it, and way beyond that, because we've been blessed with brains that actually can be a bit more complex in their thinking than that of snakes or insects or birds or animals. As a result, I want to talk more about The Wrong Man documentary that was on BBC Two last week about Andrew Malkinson, a man who served 17 years in prison for a rape that he did not commit, and quite clearly did not commit, and should never have been in prison in the first place if he'd had decent lawyers who took on decent private investigators and found out that the man was simply not guilty of the crime. Just as all the lawyers who represented the hundreds of sub-postmasters, many of whom got sent to jail for crimes they did not commit, should have examined in detail all the situations regarding that and basically should have done something about it. My thinking is that it's not just the legal situation, it's not just British society, it's the world that has ceased to cope with the 21st century. We now have overwhelming, massive communication between human beings. We now have overwhelmingly the media basically informing us of everything, whether true or false. All these things demand a completely new approach to the way humanity functions, looks after itself and others in humanity, but most of all looks after all the various and assorted problems that may arise in the world. We need to rethink totally, because all the organisations created to sort that out, democracy, the judicial system, the police, law, and so on and so forth, are no longer working. When is somebody going to have the courage to say this? When is somebody going to actually do something about it? That is the problem I am faced with at the moment. It is an absolute nightmare. Take sex for an example. Kids today can see every kind of pornography online. Life has changed. I wrote this long before Ray Davies wrote Lola.
I've seen virgins emerging and rushing home allerging, but I've never seen a woman like you before. I've seen miners from the Carolinas wearing heavy eyeliners, but I've never seen a woman like you before. I've seen nurses with their purses shouting blue Red Cross curses, but I've never seen a woman like you before. I've seen ladies with their babies and mad dogs with rabies, but I've never seen a woman like you before. All my friends keep telling me, don't worry about a thing. Hair or legs and a deep voice don't mean she's masculine, and I must admit everything else is feminine, but I'm not too sure about this bar we're in. I've seen girls wearing pearls and displaying kiss curls, but I've never seen a woman like you before. I've seen mermaids and barmaids and cleaning up your car maids, but I've never seen a woman like you before. All my friends keep telling me, don't worry about a thing. Hairy legs and a deep voice don't mean she's masculine, and I must admit everything else is feminine, but I'm not too sure about this bar we're in. I've seen cleaners, seen stealers, and parking meter dealers, but I've never seen a woman like you before. I've seen houseflies and spies upon whom everyone relies, but I've never seen a woman. No, I've never seen a woman, never seen a woman like you before.
One of the other things that I think is important to note from the Wrong Man documentary is the incredible job that the Appeal organisation did for Andrew Malkinson and are trying to do for various other people who are in prison for crimes they did not commit. Hundreds of them. No, thousands of them. Now, sadly, of course, it won't create the same thing that the Mr. Bates versus the Post Office drama did, because that was a drama, 3 or 4 episodes if I remember correctly, with the brilliant Toby Jones in the lead role as Alan Bates, and that actually was on ITV, main traditional mainstream channel, as opposed to BBC Two, which is still a niche channel. It was not really aimed at changing the world. It was aimed at being a really good drama, and it succeeded in that, and as it happened, it also changed the world to a degree. But sadly, The Wrong Man, whilst being an excellent documentary about what happened to Andrew Malkinson, will go over the heads of most people and will be ignored by the majority of people. And as a result, there will be very little effect from it. One thing that could happen is if everybody watched it and everybody feels as I do and as I'm sure you do, donated some money to the Appeal charity, they would be able to do even more work for even more innocent people suffering from this incredible broken judicial system. And I would urge you, please, if you can afford it, doesn't matter if it's 10 quid, 20 quid or 100 quid, donate some money to Appeal. I have already done so. My companion on my travels has been the audiobook 45 hours worth of Stephen King's It, which I have to tell you is absolutely brilliant. I remember reading it when it came out in 1986, but the audiobook, mainly because one of the heroes has a dreadful stutter, is even better than reading it. Funnily enough, I always wanted, the one acting role I wanted was the clown Pennywise in It, and that was eventually played in a TV miniseries by my old friend and Rocky Horror Show star Tim Curry. Sad news about Michael Mosley. I read in the Daily Mail his suggestion of a 5-2 diet, a fast diet, which means you only drink water for 48 hours and then eat normally for the rest of the time, and tried it and it worked brilliantly. Europe is packed with tourists June, July and August. A Japanese family saw the rolls as I stopped at a zebra crossing and stuck in front of it, took photographs and walked away without so much as a "excuse me." Watching the absolutely brilliant Lost Boys and Fairies, do catch up on BBC iPlayer. I think the 3rd and final episode is next week. But it is absolutely fantastic, and it dawns on me the way we're going to solve this serious problem in justice and even possibly in democracy is by using the media. I criticise the media a lot, but there are huge advantages to the media too, as we saw with Mr. Bates versus the Post Office, which completely turned around the miscarriages of justice on 800 people. And it's happened in many different occasions that the media can really set something alight. Funnily enough, the Lost Boys and Fairies show is quite similar to the track I played earlier on, I've Never Seen a Woman Like You Before. But actually that, of course, was me in the 1960s, way ahead of my time. I think the time may now be where the media can actually be the one that will change the situation, both in law and democracy and in everything else, from the NHS to all kinds of areas. And on that optimistic note, I say goodbye to you for A Victim Bites Back Show 85, and please join me for A Victim Bites Back Show 86.